Alright. 9 hours and 46 minutes. Somehow we've been playing this all week. I guess it's a mix of weird sleep, work, and then doing Monster Hunter Wilds at night. So I think we're finally going to finish here. We're near the end, so let's see what we got. Kind of discuss the game, and bing bang boom, my allergies are going crazy, so yeah, I'm a little here. Definitely get some head fog, really bad sinuses. This was too high. Getting the demon arm. Maybe it's gonna kill him slowly. Alright. Well, we won't get too into shooting the shit about the game. Maybe we can talk about it, but at the end. Oh, we have a lot more to say. We're kind of in the last bits. So when we left off, our guy is trying to discover more things about himself. More ways to try to get out of this body and come to grips with maybe not being able to. We learn a little bit more about the host body, stuff like that. I guess if you've forgotten, if you care. The AI. It's a local copy, but a copy of the AI is in our guy's brain. That's the one who's controlling everything. Yeah. In his quest to kind of find out more about all that, and let him to his old apartment, or the body's old apartment. He's kind of gotten the attention of the big bad now, which is a different copy of the AI Reach. That, you know, obviously messed with control and all sorts of other stuff, and is made for, you know, body prosthetics and organ replacements. So finding out that an AI can be used to your brain's a pretty big thing. So he's trying to get at our guy by fucking with everything he loves, the typical, right? These people got torched and he came back to save him, and now we're going into the tower, kind of HQ or something, for the corporation in the city. Where the mainframe is. Boot up, motherfucker. Yeah, what's up, Sam? Under Mysterious alias. We booting up. Alright, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. Interrupt this somber moment of death with something maybe even more emotional. Beat the game. This shit was on the Amiga. I was gonna wait until I played it to listen to the keynote, but we can't hold back. Ended up on PC later. Did it have the same music? That's so random. I don't want to be his friend, man. What the fuck is the context, man? What's that fucking video where they pull from the fucking sound samples? The Sonic CD link. Dude, we can add this to the Night Friendship Anthology, man. Knights. Some guy that's your friend in space. We got Moonchild. Some guy that's your friend in space. I don't have any other dudes who are your friends in the dark of night. That's another one, man. Friends of children. Or a child that is your friend. The story is true. It's nonfiction. Damn, what the hell? The composer just decided to go off, dude. I thought this was gonna be like Buck Bumble tier shit. Oh, really? I saw this mention recently, like when I got home on a stream. But, holy shit, man. Dude, what is this? 17 view related. WarioWare Touch promotional bite set. What the fuck's with the algorithm lately, bros? Damn. Well, I gotta play it. Is it long? Let me add it to this browser's bookmarks. I added it to my phone, but I use a different browser. 13 levels? That sounds short, but could be monstrous depending on the difficulty and such. Moonchild game. Second, fuck. I put Moonchild game second. Fucking link. What's up with the sudden influx of Moonchild memes? True. They weren't particularly bad. Is it as funny as the intro music? Everyone wants to be a friend. Everybody's finding out that they got a friend waiting for them. The level music's just good. So the title theme is where the keynote is. Dude, should we listen to the Buck Bumble theme? That gives me Buck Bumble vibes, bro. Let's do it, man. I'm gonna get me some fucking buck bumble real quick. Everybody knows. Everybody loves it. Dude, I gotta play buck bumble. They just don't make video games like this anymore. An Ubisoft game? What happened to Ubisoft, bro? So how's the trip so far? You both having fun? What do we got now? 8-bit drummer. I don't follow John Romero. I don't follow any of these channels. Alright. The Moonchild tour. When is the Raisin Cane's journey? The only reason to visit America. It's on the 23rd. Monumentus down. Any other cuisine you've dabbled in? Oh, we're taking the crew. Yeah, this is a Moonchild tone game right here. Or like at the very end of some cyberpunk thriller. But I think I got like an hour left or something. Probably Monster Hunter with Godo. It's been alright. Great art, but that's kind of its strongest thing. The rest is kind of alright. I went through the Glover soundtrack recently too. The soundtrack sucks except the fuck is the name of the levels? It's like the first world. God, I'm having a brain death. The water world, whatever it is. I don't know about that. I guess they were just cooking with like one world in that. They changed composers or what, but it's fucking Glover, so. That's right. Such a bad guy. Just gonna crash through this. Oof. Why am I already damaged? The arms, the poison. Yeah, this did not feel like it was going to be a 4-day game, but that works out, splitting everything up. No. I think he's getting any questions out of that guy, man. So yeah, what we're trying to do right now is to save Tempest. It's the name of kind of this hothead. It was sort of the soul of the outer wall, kind of survivors movement, whatever you want to call it. The people who've been dumped, their organs removed. I do like that they show that the people in the city are having like kind of second thoughts about everything, questions, stuff. I don't know if they would end it with any kind of uprising or anything, but we don't have many codex and stuff, so we're pretty. Acid rain, we level acid rain, bro. Does he actually want that? It's pretty on the nose. I don't want a better life for me, I want a worse life for everyone else. I don't know if that's supposed to be him realizing he's an asshole, or it's just really on the nose dialogue. I mean, it's not what I would call like a bringing totally new shit to the table story, but I don't think it'd be that on the nose. You got the power to be his friend. Us against the world. Alright. Take down Showdown. I've been watching some System Shock 1 stuff. I have access to the remake, surprising. One of these days we'll do the original and then the remake for fun. I'm a fan of Night Dive's work, and I've never really seen them do like a remake, so it'd be kind of interesting to compare those back to back. And obviously System Shock's pretty influential. As far as like M-Sims and shit go. I'm actually almost done watching this like super long retrospective of each Ultima game. It's been pretty well done by Madular. Pretty cool to learn about that, because it's kind of the inception of a lot of RPGs and video games, along with stuff like Wizardry. Cool seeing kind of that like actual history of the developers, but also just what the games are. I don't know if I'll get around to the games now. I kind of like know them to a certain extent, but interesting anyways. Even just the dungeon crawler, the M-Sim of that, the Ultima Underworld. Time for some Bam Ham. I just think that if I'm too used to Bam Ham combat, where once you start working a guy, as long as he's not like a heavy or something, you just unlock him and then you just worry about everybody else. But in this, at least with these guys, you start beating the shit out of a dude and he just fights back, man. I'm just not ready for it. It doesn't really matter, but let's be able to climb something. Wall combat. I feel like there's gonna be like a shitload of combat. What the fuck? It's been red the whole time. There needs to be a sound to let you know the gun's done. Oh, there is. There's not. Three hours of download over Wi-Fi work. It's gonna take 36 minutes. Are you downloading it again, or are you just swapping? You've already started playing it, right? Yeah, it's a big game, right? It's an in-house engine, which is pretty impressive always. Nice to see the engines other than Unreal. Oh, you're on PS5. Okay. That's right, I forgot your PC. I mean, that game's probably hard to run no matter what, but 90 gigs, yeah. I guess these days that's not actually that unlike everything else. Yeah. Yeah, Rebirth is huge. General. Visit menu. What did that say? Steak made from human flesh. Okay. Yeah. I'm not surprised. I wanted to see if there was loot on the left, so I just dropped hoping I'd grab something. I did not. Pretty dark in here. It does. I just want to see if there's something on the right, but it's hard to go back down. He doesn't like grab onto things beneath him unless it's like specifically meant to be grabbed. To continue. Going down is a lot more jank. And he won't go down. So there's like 4 rungs, but the bottom rung is not something you can grab. Only the top 3. I don't need the upgrades. I could just say fuck it. Yeah, I can't get back down. Who cares? There's probably nothing over there. Well, there might be, who knows. Little jank. At least see underneath me. I mean, there's I'll get a little upgrade. I just got one. Yeah, it's supposed to be really cool. I like seeing some experimentation within the budget of a AAA game. You just don't see it too often. Capcom's been on a pretty good tear with solid stuff. Oh, Jesus, just this year they've done RE9. I don't like Monster Hunter Stories 3 that much, but a lot of people do. And Pragmata. This is kind of their holiday release period, but yeah, I'll probably start it next week. I wanted to do start rewrite, but I do need to finish something and send it back. So I figure we'll probably do Pragmata since this weekend's gonna be. Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty cool. And it's not just like only linear or anything like that. It's supposed to have some kind of neat progression from what I've heard. We'll try it out. I mean, they need new IPs and stuff to survive. It's something that, at least with like new ideas, it's something that a lot of other AAAs don't really do. Or new ideas within IPs, right? Yeah, like I like Remedy, what they do. AAA is a very small slice of gaming. But it is an interesting slice because there's so much money in it. The few games are AAA for how much money they make of probably the whole pie, so. We'll see, hopefully it's cool. Yeah, as far as like technically AAA stuff, it's that, and then in a week or two is Saros, which I'm worried about Saros story-wise. But the gameplay seems like it's gonna be really good. I didn't really have a problem with Returnal's difficulty, but I know a lot of people don't like how punishing it is. I didn't really die much, so I didn't get to see how punishing it was. That was a lucky moment, I guess. But I heard Saros is very different on that front, so the story looks kind of shitty, so we'll see. The Adventures of Elliot get delayed? That's such a shit name for. Yeah, I don't want to say just don't die. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I liked about Returnal was kind of the surreal, kind of like symbolic-y, dreamy story. But I think not everybody likes that kind of thing. And this game looks like it's just straight up in your face, just a bunch of characters fucking around, and I'm like, alright, brother, we'll see. It's a gameplay dev though, so expect that to be good. Yeah, other than that, I guess there's 007. There's not much AAA for me. A lot of little indies and stuff. Thank God. Expecting another fight soon, but okay. There it is. Getting out of that's really difficult. I just dodged and he immediately started his shit by dodge. Yeah. Oh, he's dead. I can't see myself. Didn't look like I was in the mine. Apparently I was. Once you start getting more and more like weird enemies, the jank of like some of the guys teleporting in and like you getting frame trapped and weird shit starts happening. Right there, like The guy starts the shot essentially while I'm fucking like mid-roll. You can't just stand there too, you gotta do stuff. Yeah, I honestly, Elliot's one of those where I have known almost nothing about it. I'm pretty over the HD 2D, so it's really gonna just depend on what people think on it. Is it supposed to be more Zelda, or is it more like a mana game, or what? But yeah. If it's like a piss poor like mana game spread out over too long at like a full retail price, it's like I'm not too interested. I don't. What is it? Is it by the same studio who did Octopath? Is it their next thing after Octopath Zero? Which Zero was a repurposing of a different, which would be Acquire, I think. Acquire games. Maybe it's not Acquire. I'm thinking of something else. What is their name? Octopath Traveler Asano. There you go. Asano Dem. Asano's games are all done by different developers. Oh yeah, Asano. This is not. It's just like a person. But yeah, I guess he's at least working on this. I assume his team is. Games by Team Asano. They did various Day Life. Energy. Team Adventures of Elliot Doves. It's Team Asano and Claytech work. Or Enix and Claytech work. I might just be using the style. I don't know. Especially when you get these big like umbrella companies who own some of these other companies, they kind of just like take people from everywhere. I just wonder because they have like no experience with like a Zelda action RPG type of thing, but other level design especially isn't anything like that. But hey, maybe they could do something. We'll see. It's on my radar. I'm not like super crazy though. I didn't play any demo or anything. If it's just trying to get by on visuals, there's a lot of Zelda likes these days. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what in the second half of the year is coming out, and anything, you know, in the middle. Like I said, I'm mostly interested in, you know, non-AAA shit these days, but that stuff's always, you know, just kind of happens. I mean, other than your Prison Peaks and shit, which came out, which I really want to play, but I don't know. I don't really have the money right now. I got a lot of other stuff to do. There's little indies like that. But we'll see. Right, yeah. There's definitely a lot of interesting in these little. I notice they'll be there or such, but I guess we'll hear a lot of the larger games garner all sorts of conversation at the Jeffies or the mid-year Jeffies. I guess I'd be expecting a Monster Hunter expansion by the end of the year. But yeah, I guess Fable. I guess I do have the new Horizon game. I'll play that. Some arcade car racing. It always goes down pretty smooth. Zelda. Oh, the remake or whatever. I guess the new Yoshi game comes out in May. I'm not really giving a shit, honestly, but we'll see. Maybe. I guess Townfall comes out maybe later this year. The gameplay's getting dry, but I've got a few things I'm catching up on already. Yoshi just, especially with Nintendo's run lately of mediocrity. Kind of just, I don't see a Yoshi game being any better than usual. I mean, maybe it'll be charming. Working around. Final boss. Oh yeah, Super Trader stuff. The ground's electrified. We're gonna have to do some jumping. Oh god. So we're gonna fight On an electrified floor. He's doing a lot from one terminal, man. I guess he knows his shit. He was a boss of a pretty advanced mining situation. And the entire fucking Survivor town. Hello? Talk about not making any sense. It turned off. I'm like, okay, well, it's off. Am I supposed to assume I'm just supposed to sit here and wait for it to go up? Why wouldn't I just jump to it? It's moving. Very weird. Yeah, very weird kind of like with the stylized like visuals and the viewpoint of the game and stuff. Okay, you must have to jump to it. Like you don't have like a first person or like some kind of like a more intuitive viewpoint, right? Like I just don't know if I can go farther into the background or into the foreground, or if I'm jumping on something or not. That's where like there's gotta be some kind of visual design, like I'm just to go over what it is. Kinda weird, man. Not the most weird. Kinda weird, man. That was it? Just one move? Okay. Hello? The ultimate fight program. Trying to hack it, bro. What the fuck? Weird section, man. Am I supposed to hack it or not? If not yet. There's more. Now, still going. Double camera. Okay. Got up. That's over. Now for the real final thing. Or we gotta fight some goons again, once more at least. The Matrix. Corporate Court. Bitch. I could totally flip this, but I don't know if I should. Now they're letting me go this way? Not. Oh, what's going on there? Ba-doing, ba-doing, ba-doing. I feel like we're good. Yeah, I was like, how's he gonna know? Alright, let's get him. Alrighty. Looking for secrets, man. Why not? Why stop now if I've gone so hard already? It's like nothing. I pop up again. What stuff do we even really have left? It's literally like it. I mean, other than the things we missed. Yeah. Unless there's actual upgrades. Organizer, open the safe. This is still the last one on here. I still don't know what this is. Oh, they just never put in this in a song. I mean, I'm not worried about 100%. Get the upgrades for fun and learn a little more lore and see how we feel. God, I hate that mine shit. I can almost never nail it. Dude, the double shot, 3 shots? How am I supposed to do that? I guess you're just supposed to make sure you kill those guys first in that instance. You can just kind of get unlucky. They're like 3 shots with frame traps and everything. Like I said, the game's not difficult, so it's like you just take the hits, but you don't feel very accomplished. Work. Hello? The mine just keeps rolling towards me, dude. I think I'm in a safe spot, and they're like, nah, actually, you're not in a safe spot. Don't let it move, dude. Okay, I got fucking frame trapped again. You're giving these guys 2 shots out of fucking nowhere now in this one fight. Okay, yeah, great choice of fucking background here too, man. Seriously. Fucking, we got red on red and yellow. All the fucking indicators are red and yellow. Oh my god. That's the shittiest. All the biggest problems with the game is combat. In the last fight. I couldn't even see that. I didn't even know there was something there. Countering one guy, another guy fucking warps into me. And I can't counter him. All these like warp ninja guys are like extremely fucking jacked, dude. Being able to combo somebody to take them out of the fight is such a like important part of this kind of bam combat. Like you don't want to like only be able to like Y counter every dude, man. That's just super jank. And then you get 2 guys, you have to Y counter once, and you're just kind of like, oh, guess I'm fucked. Now they let you fucking heal fully in every single fight. Okay, I thought we had to be a little more careful. If combat jank, just make it easy. Have to worry about perfection being possible or skill expression, but just shit through everything. Okay. I get needing a big fight at the end. Not even against the idea, man. It's just some games, like when you stress test certain pillars of the game, the cracks, it's showing off a little more in the sun than you'd like. Generally, not seeing that at the end is a good thing. Like people's last, touch of the game. Got a lot of reach. We didn't even have to heal there. The floppy. Like I said, it's totally serviceable. It's just, instead of like ever feeling really good, it just occasionally feels like shit. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a steady pulse of a fighting system. Totally fine. double shooters, man. The timing is so just wonky. You want to use them to like get quicker kills, but now that they shoot twice, it just doesn't really work right. Oh, my LB is not back. Yeah, the second one, I don't even know if you can block that many shots in a row. You might literally have to not go for the block there. How many times am I gonna try this heavy and it just doesn't work, man? What? I'm literally dodging to fight that guy and I'm like fucking warping around, dude. Magnetization in the combat. It's done extra wonky. It ends up being a nightmare. Let's look at and play around. These guys can only be hurt with guns or what? Seems that way. Okay, try getting out. How would he give us a way to get to him? What? We're gonna fight inside of him. Fight in between each of those. So he's trying to overload it, kind of like how it happened at the beginning of the game, where the guy had such like an emotional breakdown mixed with being in the device. Not much I could do there. I'm like trapped by the grenade, bro. I have to dodge past him. There's a grenade trap there. mechanics of platforming. The green lights are a cute way to indicate what's open. If you can't tell in the depth. I mean, I get what they're going for here. It's a cute way to try to show he's actually emotional. The level where you can overload the computer like it would happen before. You'd think the power would be enough, but didn't get to use my super for very long because of that fucking stupid shit. Mr. Teleports fucking McGee comes in. Just jump all over the fucking floor now. These guys can take the counter shots too. Oh, the dude can regenerate his armor. I feel like I've shot this guy multiple times. I guess he's just Mick Cool. Oh, weird, you can do like a big jump here. It like fucks up some of the platforming. It's supposed to be only for the top, but you can kind of use it elsewhere too. It's gonna be a boss though. I'm not that I want one, honestly. I'm good on the extra combat. Punch himself in the nuts. Maximum BPM. All the weird flashing when the camera pans. Like I'm fucking hallucinating. Now, I like the idea that the AI would be experiencing his memories and like his will, sort of in a way, but that he's just like pretty much dead. He's just like interfacing with his brain. A couple memories here and there. I mean, we're sad. Like he created a lot of stuff, but he doesn't really, you know. I don't say the fruits of his labor. I mean, we're looking at the fruits of his fucking labor, but. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Completely separate. Kind of sort of long gone past of a. His mind's not even there, but. Campus better, learn how to fight better, man. Please look forward to the sequel. But not necessarily ending it on like a break down the system kind of stoke the fire kind of thing. I mean, that's not necessarily sequel bit. Alright, well, we finished it. Took all week. See if they do some after story shit. I imagine not. But I mean, I wouldn't say this story's like above, I guess, like a schlocky after story. Okay, no. Alright, well, yeah. I'm of mixed minds on it. On one hand, I think it's a visually excellent game with lots of variety. It's not just city cyberpunk, you know, you get your outer in nature kind of hybrid stuff, you're almost kind of dystopian, like almost apocalyptic for these people outside the wall sort of thing, mixed with like, you know, big corp kind of dystopian city stuff mingled in there, and I think they do a good job realizing that visually. I think the kinds of like visuals you're seeing, you know, in essence, you're not getting like a brand new look like what a, you know, future dystopia would look like. You're getting like different areas of that same thing, right? You know, you still get like the similar kinds of neons and cities and similar kinds of topics and themes and stuff like that, but just kind of more of it. If you really like this type of setting, which I do, I'm a big fan of kind of near future stuff like this. The whole AI thing and all that does have a little less of a of an edge to it these days. I feel like we're in like the shitty version of like one of these dystopias. I mean, these dystopias would be horrible to be in, but you know, there's like a certain kind of, you know, questions of humanity and craziness, and you know, there's an aesthetic and nowadays it's like a it's just like stupid people and fucking dumbassery and shit when it comes to, I don't know, like, I mean, I guess it's still like a corporate greed thing with the AI stuff, but it's less about the idea of like AI and more about what future technology or technology in general can kind of be as like a mirror to what makes somebody human. What is the human experience and what does that matter and stuff. So that's pretty typical themes for like a cyberpunk type of story. That isn't just being like a sensational thing, right? And that's kind of what's going on here. It's a little bit sort of a different idea with it, you know, a human body that sort of gets an AI imprinted onto it by accident, essentially. I think you get a little bit of mystery there. I think you could have definitely made it less interesting by having like them like talk to each other and stuff, but more or less, the host body's just dead, I guess. I mean, which I think is honestly got the most emotional stuff to it, more for me. Just thinking about it, especially when they show like him as like a kid and stuff. It's like, you know, something else is living in your body, and it means well. Obviously, it's like a very emotional human. It's essentially his child. But I mean, the guy pretty much, you know, his goal was to, you know, do all this donor stuff and help people because his dad died. Not being able to, you know, have that and It's kind of interesting that like a puppeted body sort of. I like the idea that he'd be witnessing his memories, but he's just been gone, right? You know, nobody else gets to witness those. It's kind of him, and I think about it a little bit. I think that could be like amped up a bit, not everywhere, but just at the right moments, and have a bit more of like an emotional sort of kind of weight to the idea of being in the body there. They kind of go a little bit more for the angle of, you know, what makes a human AI type of thing, you know, AI or whatever, whoever the fuck it is, fish out of water, meets certain people, and it teaches them how to be human, and it's, you've seen it a million times. I'm totally fine with that kind of story. It really depends on the execution. I'm fine with it here. You know, if you're pretty well read on this stuff, or you play a lot of these things, or watch a lot of these things, you're not, I wouldn't say you're gonna get like a novelty of like story themes or anything, but it's clean enough characters, you know, Tempest and the general like idea of it, and more importantly, the world, especially if you read the codex, is like clean enough that with the wealth of great visuals, it's more than a serviceable just kind of story. Like, you're interested, right? As long as you can get past, I would say, the rest of it. I think the gameplay is kind of the, I'm sure that's the common, that's the consensus. The gameplay and the pacing is probably the thing that's going to be a make or break for a lot of people. I would say the pacing in that, like a lot of cinematic platformers, they can have the tendency to drag. I wouldn't say it drugged for me too much because I really like the visuals generally, and I played it over 4 days and I've been kind of tired, so it's sort of almost a like almost therapeutically, I wouldn't say mindless, but just kind of, you just kind of going through the motions, enjoying, like, you know, a couple beats of story here you chew on, you know, nothing crazy, right? Just do a little bit of combat, do a little bit of platforming, but a lot of the levels, you know, like the termites and stuff. I mean, that the whole purpose of that, all but that story wise, is to kind of bond with Tempest and kind of like, you know, start to have Reach sort of understand what's going on and see more about, you know, how shitty the world is outside and stuff like that. But it's like, you can get to a lot of these things probably in a tighter amount of time. This is like a full-on 10, 11 plus hour game. I mean, I looked for everything I could, so I'm probably on the upper end. I would imagine it'd still probably take you a good 8 hours. It's not that much side stuff. The hub is really about the only like somewhat non-linear thing, which is fun. I like the hub. It kind of built the location a bit more. I don't know who all lived in that. I don't know if the little girl lived. We didn't get to see that. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. I wish I could have went to the arcade side for. Well, I did go that way anyway. Anyways, yeah. So the pacing's a little weird there. You know, I definitely think you could probably get to a lot of these story beats in a quicker amount of time. I don't think a lot of the gameplay for a lot of people is going to be able to bear the load for how little it really changes it up. I mean, they do, you know, you get a new combat thing here, you get a new jail platforming ability there. They're all pretty standard things, and when they're stress tested, they tend to be a little jank, so they're not even great additions. I'll get into those parts later, but yeah, so I like the idea of a really slow story that lets you have lots of nuance, really take in scenes and places and atmosphere and see the smaller side of things and build up into the bigger stuff. You know, this definitely starts in nature and builds into more and more of like the city and bigger events and stuff. And so it's exciting as a thriller in that way, but not just narratively, but, you know, and how a slower pace done correctly, not just literally slow, but like, you know, something that's like using that time to like give you some kind of agency or to build out a world or characters or let you kind of smell the roses in a way. So I don't hate the idea of slow things. It's not a matter of like I need it to be breakneck Hollywood is what I'm saying. I think things that technically are slow that are really well done aren't really slow. It's just kind of a different tone or pace or something. So I don't mind that element, but I do think maybe, and I imagine a lot of people probably feel this way, maybe to a higher degree than me. I do think there's probably a little bit like too many, like, cutting a few jump sections here and there, cut a fight or two here and there. Probably more on the jump section side. Some of the like box moving, some of the backtracking to box moving, or just like stuff like that, like getting rid of some of that, letting the levels kind of, like the city is a great example. That's kind of like sort of non-linear. We got to find the 4 guys. Like you can go at that in a really weird way where it's supposed to be cool. You're finally seeing the city and the culture and stuff. But you end up like, I mean, I imagine it wasn't cheap to make, but it's like you end up spending like a little too much time there doing more uninteresting things back and forth. A few more scenes where he's kind of like interacting with the people or they're imparting like a little bit of like, I liked when they would kind of reveal that, people aren't all into what's going on. They can tell there's like bullshit, with the disposals and the government and stuff. A little bit of that, a little bit of like, how things just are in the wall a little bit. Like I get that's like more money, like you open up a couple more stores, but like cutting all the sections where you go into the sewer and like find dudes and putting that more into like what really matters a bit more would have been nice. It's in a way I reference Planet of Lana as like an awesome example of cinematic platformers. I don't like it. Mind you, it's a great example in my case where in a lot of cinematic players where they can overestimate, I feel like, the mechanics, that they need to have a lot of stuff, they need to have a lot of jumping, they need to have a lot of X and Y because it's a game, and it doesn't play to the strengths of the game, it plays to like the weaknesses. So Planet of Lana's case, it's very dull gameplay wise, very boring levels, very unimaginative movement and everything. And it drags. It's just those levels just go on, and it's shorter than this. It feels much longer. This, like I said, has art and a little bit of a story and a couple extra mechanics mixed in there, like combat, to kind of help out a bit. But yeah, this game's strength is not those things as well. So I almost feel like having them there is a nice little just thing to have, right? You interface with the world in a way where I can jump around it, I can climb it, you're on the outskirts, you get to come into civilian areas, you get to come out of them, you get to go where people aren't normally going, right? Because you're not just walking, on like normal paths. So I'm cool with like the idea of like the jumping around and maybe some combat and stuff, but like cutting it down a little bit. Even though most of these places have a lot of unique visuals, like it's not like it just feels like a cynical, like we gotta pad the game out type of thing. But it ends up kind of having that effect of when something would try to do that, where it's like, okay, it's a little much, like these, does the termite layer need to be like this long? When we're getting into like the outpost and stuff, it's like, do we need to be doing like a whole sewer section in the city? This is supposed to be a big moment where we're like soaking that in. Like, let me soak that in. Let me learn more about like that part of the world. That's, I know they probably put a lot of effort into all that stuff, all the mechanical stuff, but I don't think it's what people are probably jumping into the game for. Maybe it is actually. I don't know. Apparently this was like super marketed and everybody knew about it. I didn't know about it until pretty much it fucking started coming out. I mean, I think maybe I saw like something for it a long time ago. I don't know. But I feel like the visuals are probably gonna pop for people, and I feel like when you start playing that world and a bit of the story is what's probably going to keep you playing to those strengths, because the point is those mechanics aren't that great. It's really standard jumping, cinematic platformer jumping. It looks great. That's what cinematic platformers are about, all the way back to Prince of Persia. Looks good when he's moving around. There's like a weight and all that to it. It's not a good feel of platforming, but it's supposed to look nice, right? That's kind of part of the point. This has like a little bit of a mix, right? It's kind of like later Prince of Persia more, right? Where it's like, okay, you gotta stick on the wall. You gotta do a couple pole vaults. Very easy to time. All the box moving, puzzle platforming. I wouldn't even call it that. It's usually just like, oh, yep, I have to move this to X position. It doesn't require a brain, as long as you could see that, which is another issue. And then you just kind of do it. That feels like some of the most egregious stuff, to the point of almost being padding, right? It's not like an interesting new thing. I'm moving something like a whole minute away, so that I can do, some pretty easily timed basic platforming. I wouldn't say that the idea of like a more like animation heavy, like thicker jump, almost a heavier jump, is like a bad thing. I don't hate that style, but here, it doesn't really do anything. It's totally fine as like a way to just kind of move around the world and just kind of keep playing. It's like very just like serviceably entertaining, but it's not like a draw. So I think having as much as they do is probably a little overestimating how good it is, because I would say this game is probably at least half just jump shit. So we're talking, like, for me, like 5-6 hours of just platforming. I mean, that's a pretty hefty platformer, especially in like the indie scene. I say the indie scene, it's the only thing where you get platformers. I mean, there's like there's a couple like higher budget platformers in the last decade or two that are like 20-30 plus, like your DKC Tropical Freezes and Mario's and all that shit, but you get what I mean, right? Like, that's a fair bit for a game that I would not say is like a really like, any kind of any special anything on a platformer. It's very like basic cinematic platforming. Maybe a little bit more limber than like a Limbo or something, but obviously a different focus than that. That's much more of a puzzle game. And then you get the Bam Ham combat, which, I mean, there's a stigma against Bam Ham combat. It's pretty overused in the AAA world. I mean, Batman, it's great combat when you're doing it. Do I prefer like a Bayonetta or like a Devil May Cry character action? Sure, but Batman's feels good for what it's doing. It's also just part of that game. Obviously it feels better for that, but you also have like stealth stuff, and then you also have the story stuff, and you also have a fully explorable kind of like almost like a open. They're all open. But there's like, the second one's open world. The first one's almost like a Metroid Prime type of world. This doesn't have any of that, right? And it doesn't do any of those like as well. I'm not gonna, but that the point is not to compare it against Batman and say it's worse because it's not as good as Batman, but to say that the combat is a pretty heavily stigmatized at this point, overexposed combat system that I think totally can be fine, totally fits. It's serviceable here, but and it shows off some nice animations, but it's not super crazy either, and it has a lot of jank and a lot of issues that arise with the visuals, and so does the platforming. So the combat, so it's like, okay, there's guys behind you, right? They shuffle around. It's hard to tell if they're in the fight or not sometimes. There's lots of moments where you're kind of just like warping around because of the magnetized stuff or the timing. Or like the heavy attack with like the frame traps and like how the guys will shoot, and you'll just kind of get in situations where it's like, there's skill issue moments, absolutely, but there's times where you're just like, I don't really see a whole lot of ways for me to handle that differently. You can't move around a 3D space to like, field guys as easily. You know, you don't even know who's really there. Sometimes the backgrounds are like almost the same colors as like the indicators. Um, you'll dodge a guy and it'll like rip you a little extra, or you'll like attack and then it'll like kind of it'll just be, it's a little jank. It's not like breaking at the seams kind of jank, but it's like jank enough that when they start adding more and more guys, which hey, it's good they add more guys and more abilities. You know, there's certain things like being able to reflect shots that feels good that just ends up being a little too fucked, so that when they really stress test it by the end, it's like, you know, you never feel like you're really just expertly weaving through these dudes and you're planning out who you're going for first. And we'll get the badge next week. I don't think it's in the mail right now. I got Mount Hunt coming out for the weekend. But what's up, flipping? But yeah, so so I would say, yeah, it's just a little jank there. Between the visuals, just some interactions not quite working out. It just feels like it's not kind of just tightened up on the polish to the level I'd like. I mean, it looks great. You know, I like the idea that they have some combat in there. But yeah, luckily there's not too much of it. You know, I would say there's probably too much jumping. The combat, there's other problems with it too, where it's like the combat, like the situations are like very gamey. How you get into combat. The nature of Bamham combat is you need like 30 guys to make it work, right? You don't just fight like one or two dudes unless they're like a boss, right? Because it's like you need to have multiple different guys with multiple different like classes, and then all the tools to use them, and then you need to be able to like build up combos and take out certain guys at a time. And it's like, you know, I guess you could have a guy who just like morphs, but like I mean, that's not really as interesting. And the whole point is to visually show how, you know, badass you are taking down a bunch of people. So it's mixed situations. A Batman would solve that by having the stealth sections, right? Where you just took out a couple guys at a time in a different scenario. This doesn't really have anything like that. You just kind of fall into rooms with like 30 guys all the time. They even start making jokes about how you just keep falling on your back. And it's like, okay, you know, I guess that's fine. But so it can feel a little like arbitrarily thrown in there than it is natural. Like, you know, oh, you're in the city and you're in the sewers, and then there just happens to be like 30 guys in the sewers just chilling. So some situations like that can also kind of hurt the feeling of like repetition of combat. But yeah, with the platforming and stuff, it's funny. It's like egregiously yellow paint, but then somehow the game is also really hard to read. Like, there's plenty of times where if you find yourself like, you'll find yourself like there's one instance where it's like you're trying to avoid like a light and you're climbing up a shaft, and it's like you can't really tell where the light is because it's like sheet metal, and so you're trying to do these jumps and it's really zoomed out and it's focused on the visuals, and you know, maybe the lighting or the vignetting or what, I don't know if actually there's much vignetting, but the shadows and stuff is kind of, you know, and it's just kind of hard to tell if like you're behind something or if you can make a jump or stuff like that. And you know, sometimes it's very magnetized, kind of like with the combat, where you'll go for a jump, you're like, there's no way I can make this, and you just kind of like warps up, or it just doesn't work at all. And then there's sometimes where visually it's like just almost impossible to tell what's going on. And you know, there's a lot of times where it's like the background where you're supposed to hook your deal into it is kind of hard to see. And it's like I'm generally err more on the side of like, instead of egregious yellow paint, you know, let the art and the lighting kind of lead you on there and have like intuitive level design. I mean, it depends on the mechanics, right? Like something like this, it's gonna be hard to make it look too natural because it's like very Prince of Persia kind of platforming. It's fine, right? But yeah, not knowing where the jumps are, and then especially when you're actually looking for side collectibles, and it's like you can't really tell where they are, or you have to make like leaps of faith, or you're just like dying all the time. Like, I think punishing people for wanting to learn more about your world with like jank and like wonky checkpoints, which the game's got a lot of checkpoints, but you don't ever do anything interesting as far as like a marathon. It's always kind of just like, okay, why would I want to redo this part, type of moments. Usually not a big problem, but it's like, there's times where it's like, the jumping and all that platforming, like it's serviceable, but like I said, just like the combat, it's jank enough because of a mix of mechanical stuff and visuals. And then on top of that, just not being really that strong in the first place, that I feel like for a lot of people, it probably overstays its welcome a bit. The game is also very hold left to go through areas. Like I said, I don't mind that pace with the right atmosphere and the story and, setting and stuff. So I didn't mind that as much, but I bet there's a lot of people who are like, I'm holding right for the first hour of the game with almost no anything. And then, I'm in the forest holding right, and then I grab a box and I hold left for like a minute. And shit drives me crazy in some games. I don't know if it was just my mood or just enough things were going on right here where I didn't mind it too much, but definitely not like a strong suit. Yeah, so anyways, overall, I think it's worth at least seeing, because the art's really great. This costs $6. $6 well spent, right, bro? Is it an emote too, or is it just a badge? That's so interesting. They just out of everything they chose, use that for their badge, man. Thanks, man. But yeah, so I think it's worth seeing just for the visuals alone. I think if you're a big cyberpunk near future type of person and you just want any depiction of that, you just can't get enough of that type of story, novelty or not, I think it's worth checking out there, or at least seeing what you think. But if cinematic platformers, if Bam combat, if a pretty slowly paced game scares you a bit, maybe be a little careful on it. If you're hoping to go in and it's like Katana Zero and it's over in like 5 or 6 hours and it's like non-stop and there's like cool story bits in between, it is not like that. I would say you almost have to get enjoyment out of like kind of this like long journey, this like slow paced long journey. Like, you really have to soak in the atmosphere and the visuals and stuff, because without that, like I said, the mechanics and how often you'll get into those and how interesting they are just isn't enough. You'd pretty much have to ride on pure visuals at that point. Yeah, it's I think overall it was cool. I think there's some things about it that I might reference in the future on visuals or like near future stories. Maybe not always the positive stuff, but not like a crazy. I'm not coming away with it with like any heightened emotional anything, right? Either it's story or thanks, go to gameplay or anything, but it was like a fine little time. It's not like a cynical deal. So I imagine this game, like I said, I think it's getting kind of crushed on Steam reviews. Let me take a peek. I'm kind of curious what people are saying on this one. It's like a 75. Steam reviews don't mean that much. Sometimes, I've seen people say this. Sometimes a more mixed rating game can be interesting because it might not be like what's considered a the most like accessible, mass appeal, easy to swallow type of games, which can mean they're really niche or interesting, or it can just mean it's kind of fucked, right? So, um, I do think some people were probably pretty hyped on this. I think it helped that I kind of went in just sort of taking it as it kind of was given to me. I don't remember any trailers or anything. I just kind of found out sort of about it. I feel like right when it came out, or at least. Well, I really remember, right? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. That it's just kind of like kind of dry visually, or dry, combat, dry puzzle platforming, dry platforming. It's glacial. Uh, yeah, that's kind of my deal. And I've been there so many times with these types of games, to a crazy degree. So I think it really gets by on maybe atmosphere, story pace, setting type of stuff for me. I was ready for death after both Planet Alana's, right? I mean, you'd say those are art games too, so. But I'm interested in this one just a little bit. Anyways, guys, that's it for Replaced. Done. I think the devs said one of their goals is to add VA in this, voice acting. I do think this is a situation. I generally don't care if it's got voice acting or not, but I think good voice acting can elevate something. But more often than not, it's not good voice acting. I do think this is one where it would benefit. I think the production value is pretty big. I think there's a lot of very scripted scenes of very cinematic, like where they're moving, and the dialogue you can't forward it. It's like because everybody's kind of moving at like a pace. That generally makes more sense with voiceover, right? When you're a game where it's just two sprites blasting each other back and forth, like in my VNs, the pace is kind of. I mean, there's the story pace, but the on-screen pace, it's not. It doesn't exist, right? So, this is like, I would definitely not, don't throw any AI voices in there. And I think if it was like a bad voice acting, I would just say don't do it. I think you could kill the atmosphere pretty hard there. No, I'd be curious to see what these devs do. I think Sad Cat Studios. I think they've got some strength here in a lot of ways. I think they could clean up some of the other stuff. Get some pretty games that do some cool shit. Anyways, that'll be it for now. Gonna jump off here, and if Godo's up for it, we'll do some Monhun Wilds for the rest of the night. Not, I'll check the mail for Pragmata, but maybe we'd start something else. But I imagine we're doing Wilds. Godo, we wildin'? All right, we'll find out. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you in a bit. Thanks for hanging out.